Now, before I begin, I want to note that this is a two-part video, and it's probably, you might as well get your popcorn and all that stuff because it's going to be a very long, probably about 30 to 40 minutes each part. So, yeah, I just want to let you guys know that. So this is a two-part episode, half-ass review, rant, whatever you want to call it, on Life is Strange episode 5 is crap. So just letting you guys know that. Disclaimer. Chaos theory.
Welcome to PringleTheOne's world.
Yo, what's up, YouTube fam? PringleTheOne in the building. And how the hell doing? Hope we're doing good and shit today, fam. Yo, I got a little bit of different something very similar to the Shin Megami Tensei video I did a while back, but this is all discussion based, and since it's because it's trivia, more discussion based, more so kind of like a half-ass review. I will say this from the very beginning, and I'll let this fact known. I did enjoy Life is Strange episodes 1 through 4. They were enjoyable, and they were really funny. And I even made a video a while back trying to figure out how it would end towards the episode 5, because, you know, there was delays with that. And I also realized something with these episodic releases. So then, now I'm going to say this from the very beginning. Life is Strange episode 5 takes a fucking shit on everything the series at the game built itself on. From the very beginning, it just takes a utter complete fucking shit. Now, I say this, and I'm going to go through this list, and I'm telling you guys right now, I made notes for this video, but I'm not reading off a script because I believe this game does not deserve a script at all. But I did write notes, and it ended up coming out to be at least 2,000 words of just straight notes. That's how much this game agitates the living shit out of me. So, now then, I know there's a lot of people that like this game. You know, go ahead, like it. Now, before I begin, like I said, I'm going to be taking a shit at this game. So if there is at any point where you know I'm wrong, go ahead, feel free to put it in the comments section. But I'm going to go at this the most chronological way possible I believe I can, without trying to skip anything and try to make some sense of what I see in the game. And I'm going to say this as well. This is going to be... You might as well get your popcorn or some shit, because this probably is going to be the longest video I've ever made where I just pretty much talk about one game and almost every single flaw I felt it managed to just do, and just breaking so much things and not leaving so much questions unanswered. So without further ado, let's begin this. So we're left off from episode 4. Now, we know what happened in episode 4. Basically, she got drugged, and you saw that trailer at the end of it, and it was really cool. It was like, oh man, Mr. Jefferson, what's Mr. Jefferson gonna do? And we don't know that. Mr. Jefferson is presented as the main antagonist, and it's really cool because, yo, I did not like this motherfucker, and I didn't expect him to blast Chloe right in the fucking head, right? Also, there's profanity, but it's a little too late for that. So I didn't expect that to happen, and that was a really cool aspect of what they added into episode 5. So you see Max drugged, and she's sitting in the chair, and you know, she's like looking around, trying to figure out what's, you know, trying to make some sense of it. And that makes sense. Basically, everything that happened in episode 4, we get in episode 5. And now, me as the player, I feel, you know, like, oh, okay, Mr. Jefferson, all right, shit, you know what I'm saying? Now, this is what kind of bugged me right here, right at that point. When Mr. Jefferson says, and this is kind of stupid, I felt like this was kind of stupid. He says that the way he figured out that Chloe and Max were in the bunker or the dark room or whatever you want to call it, his rape room and shit, he figured out with the cameras that he had, and so this is what throws me off right here, right? He had camera. I think that was kind of lame, and a lot of people probably had the speculation of Mr. Jefferson having some sort of like similar power to Max and shit because of the fact that he managed to find out. But in reality, it was, I'm getting real nitpicky with this shit, but I'm gonna nitpick the living shit out of it because it kind of bugged me. It was just Mr. Jefferson having surveillance cameras in his room. Whoop de fucking do. I mean, right there, you would have seen that to happen. Like, I mean, it kind of makes sense for him to have that. And then he also figured out that because Nathan shot him a text message, that's how he figured that out. Also, Max wants to take a picture. This is a little bit beforehand. Like I said, I'm trying to get as chronological as possible, but this is not scripted, so I'm just going off and shit like that. So Max takes a picture with Mr. Jefferson, right? And this picture, it gives her something so she could focus on. And as for the last episodes, we've seen that Max has the power to, rewind time. And she can also focus on photos as if she's like some sort of Kodak Express or something. She can focus on photos and then go back into time with them. Now, this is the cool thing I like. Mr. Jefferson is a real good antagonist. I like how he is because you never would have expected it, but then you see all the clues towards the end. And this is where I feel the game kind of killed the antagonist because they didn't build as much as they could have and used him as the main, the main issue of the series. Like the whole, bringing everything into fruition using Mr. Jefferson as like the main antagonist because he is used, but he kind of dies off a little bit later. So afterwards, with that photo, she says, with the photo that she noticed or focused. Now then, like I said, if I have mistakes, you can go ahead and correct me. But, this is just going to be a very long video. And I feel that a script just does not, I don't feel like this game deserves a script. So anyways, so she goes back into time, right? And Max goes back into time. When you're able to go back in time, you have the option to go back in time. She goes back into time and she sees that she's wrapped up and she's pretty much drugged and she can't do any fucking thing. Right? So she goes back into her present time, or she goes a little bit forward. Now this is where I kind of iffy. This is where it kind of didn't make much sense. She manages to end up, you have the option because my initial playthrough, now another thing, this is my second playthrough of the game for footage of it. So my initial playthrough, I didn't even see Victoria because I didn't even move around the camera to see her. So there you have the chance to talk to Victoria, and I gotta say, man, she is just a straight up bitch. Like, she come out of nowhere and she's like, oh, I shouldn't have done that to Kate. I regret all the things I've done wrong. And I'm just like, I felt like that was just such a lackluster character development. It's one of those kind of things where the person regrets every wrongdoing they did because they're going to die and they're scared. They're in fear, And I was like, oh, okay, but it just felt like right there. What threw me off was the fact that Victoria was there and she was asking Max for forgiveness, when in reality we've already seen how Victoria is. She's like a complete bitch. And this is another thing. I really don't like much of the characters at all in this video game. Everybody just seems, it's like Max is like the most passive person where she just rides out with Chloe and Chloe just throws her on this stupidity, this fucking shit full of stupidity, and everybody else is just a dickhead. Anyways, so you managed to actually speak to Victoria, and that's a pretty cool thing. Like, I did not notice that my first run through of it. So that's a really interesting thing. And then you get to see what's going on with her head and all that stuff. And she pretty much got drugged, and Mr. Jefferson had her ass too, right? So then you're presented with more focusing, going back into, this was another thing that really bugged me, man. The focusing in this game kind of became monotonous because you're going back and forth in between time or alternate realities or whatever you want to call it, going back and forth between time in the same room. So this is where you have to keep focusing and focusing over and over again. And I really like right there, it kind of bugged the living shit out of me because I felt like it was so monotonous and it didn't want to go further than what it happened. Like, it was like, okay, Max got drugged. What's gonna happen? She gonna find a way out. She gonna, you would feel that as the player, but instead you're kind of playing the look at the picture fucking game over like about three times. You're doing that back and forth, just trying to find a way how to get out, right? And then once again, Max talks to Mr. Jefferson. And it's really cool. Like I said, he's a really good antagonist. We figure out that Jefferson has like this crazy obsession with capturing the moment of the innocence in people. Like he likes to, catch when they're supposedly innocent. And we already know how he does it. He drugs the living shit out of the girls. And see, this is another thing that kind of threw me off. I thought he was gonna rape them or some shit. I mean, it only feels like, I had a friend that told me, well, it is a rated T game, but I mean, like, it only felt like it was something he would do. This dude, all he's really doing is like taking pictures of them, throwing him in the fucking room. It's like, here, bitch, get up in my room. I'm gonna take some photos of you and shit, and don't fucking leave. And then it's like, what's the point of that? I mean, they built him off like this stone cold killer that doesn't even look twice when he blasted Chloe in the fucking head. But then he's like taking pictures of little kids and stuff just to capture the innocence, quote unquote, bunny ears, capture the innocence. And that's where I really felt like what happened to the Mr. Jefferson that like, I mean, that's kind of scary, but I thought there would be a little bit more something to his character right there, as opposed to capturing the innocence of the girls. Like, maybe he was going to do something like, he's capturing the innocence, and then after that he would like get body parts and put them, okay, maybe I'm getting too trippy with this shit, but like, he would do a little bit more than just take photos of them, or he would violate them some sort of way that really makes you really hate this guy, because that's what an antagonist do. And Mr. Jefferson had me building off that foundation of like, I'm gonna fucking hate this dude. But then when that happened, I was like, okay, this is kind of fucking lame, dog. Like, it's pretty lame. All he's really doing is drugging these girls up and taking pictures of them in his fucking room and shit. And then I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, what you gonna do after? You gonna make an album and shit? You gonna share with your friends? I mean, I don't get that, man. And then after that, after he like interrogates her and he's telling Max about being able to capture the innocence and stuff like that, we end up figuring out that the principal is like pretty much is a closet drunk in the game, and he pretty much got bribed by Mr. Jefferson to believe everything he said, right? And whatever Max said was false. And then it pretty much shows you that he's pretty much a bad principal, right? So then after that, you realize that Nathan's family, the Prescotts, they paid for Mr. Jefferson's toys, his dark rooms, his cameras, his pictures, all of his equipment, so he can make that. So that's how you figure out that he had the 24/7 surveillance camera, and he also said that he has this stuff. So there you go. You figure out how he has it. You figure out the basic premises of Max is here. How did he get all this stuff in the bunker? Well, Nathan's parents hooked him up, and probably also dumbass Nathan and shit, right? Then afterwards, this is where I kind of got lost. Mr. Jefferson says Rachel was in love with Mr. Jefferson. I kind of got lost there. So if anybody really wants to like explain that to me, go ahead, man. So all of this happened. All of this stuff happened. Like I said, if I'm going through this real bad, you go ahead and you throw me what you want. But this is going to be a real long video, so I don't really care. So it's been about 28 minutes throughout the game, about 28 minutes, right? And all you really did was about 7 choices, and you focused on like some dumbass photos. You focused on about 3 to 4 photos, and that's really all you get. And that's 28 minutes, and you're still in this room and stuff. So now after all of that stuff, now you can really go back into time and finally play said game in quotation marks, right? And so now she asks for the diary, and Mr. Jefferson throws it on the floor, This is when Max is asking for the diary so she could go back in time and try to get herself out of the dark room, right? I'm gonna call it the dark room, dark room. I'm gonna call it a dark room, even though it's pretty well lit. You know, might as well call it the light room. So she asks for the diary, and Mr. Jefferson throws it, and now everything is so conveniently placed. Everything is so conveniently placed, and the photo is just lying there, and then somehow, some way, it was the photo from the very beginning. Okay, now I'm going to say this. She goes into the beginning of the game, episode 1, about twice, I believe, 3 or twice. And for the latter, everything seems so weird at how conveniently it was placed. But it is a video game, so video game logic. I'm not gonna nitpick too much on that. So now she looks into that picture, and it takes her all the fucking way back to episode 1. And that is where I felt really fucking stupid. That is where I started to feel like I got slapped in the fucking face, because they make you replay the events in the first episode when you're in the room. After all of that shit I did, which is about 30 minutes in, having to refocus, do the choices, I can finally play the game. And what happens? They shoot you right back into the beginning. And I know what this is. This is one of those, she has to change all of the events that happen. And you might as well start from the very beginning. See, that doesn't really work with me. Because if she has the ability to go back in time, why had it? And I know she was drugged or whatever. If she went back in time so many fucking times, this is what kind of threw me off. How is it that it was so conveniently placed the photo there that she would go back all the way fucking back in time into the first episode? As I played that game, I didn't understand why they would throw at least the first photo. Why couldn't they throw a photo that maybe threw it in the episode 4 or something a little bit closer there, but they threw you all the way in the beginning of the game? See, this is just being me nitpicky, but I really don't like that. And this is where the answer to Mr. Jefferson's questions in the room, which is the Daguerrean Procesius. I don't remember though. And Max now is in this, kind of like a short little monologue, thinking to herself, and she says, "Do you know someday your pictures would actually alter time and space?" And it's like, and she asks herself, how do they? How do you even have your powers? See, this is another thing. We don't know. The player doesn't know. A lot of people made some theories, and I looked online. Trust me, I looked online about a lot of this stuff, reading reviews and all kinds of stuff, trying to make some sense of this shit. And nothing. All I see is some people trying to make some speculation as to possibly the blue butterflies is what makes the her have the power to rewind time. But once again, these are just theories, and nobody really knows, because the game devs or the creators, whoever had it in them, they didn't tell us. They didn't tell the player, right? Because if they would have, we would have known, period. You kind of want to know where the shit comes from. It's kind of like almost every superhero, where their shit comes from. It's like a motherfucker that he just doesn't become Superman or some shit without something. So we don't know where the powers come from. And now you start to see that Max gets a text message from David saying Jefferson is a weirdo, yada yada yada. And Max starts to lose blood about it, right? She loses blood, and now we know and this has happened in the last episodes also with the headaches she gets. The implications is that she would lose blood out of her nose from using her power too much. These are the consequences that they put on to us, even though we still do not know where her powers come from. So afterwards, she calls David, and she talks to Mr. Jefferson, and she hands Mr. Jefferson the photo, and then pretty much that photo changes the future. So then this is another thing. Everything is so conveniently made in the sense where, see, this in the premise of time, it is very difficult to work around time and make it all make sense to the player or to the viewer or whatever whatever the level of entertainment is, because there's just so many things that can get affected through just time. It's kind of like one of those like, you ever seen that Futurama episode where, not to go off track with it, if you're still sticking around for this video, it doesn't matter. Not to go off track, but that Futurama episode about Fry having sex with his grandma and all that shit, and how it pretty much there's this weird like almost anything can affect time because he had sex with his grandma, and then they pretty much ended off with some stupid shit about like how he still managed to survive even though dude killed his grandpa and he fucked his grandma and shit. So I mean, not to use that's a really bad example, but it's more so because the premise of this is pretty bad anyways, because of the fact that everything is so conveniently placed in Max's favor in the game. And so because of this, all these pictures and these events, they all happen in Max's favor. Now I know she's the main character and you know everything should be built on it, but it's almost as if she's God in this kind of game with the power to rewind time. So now because of the fact that she gave the photo and we've seen all these events happen through photos, and she is in the airplane to San Francisco with the principal, and right there, that's where it threw me even more off. So pretty much she's in there with the principal. Mr. Jefferson got locked up, and you know somehow Chloe's alive, right? You know, I'm still trying to figure that shit out. And now she feels good because she supposedly fixed everything, pretty much God status. You know what I'm saying? And then she says this to herself. Max says, this is one thing that kind of threw me off in the airplane. Careful, I'm stuck in realities and I can't focus on this one too long. See, that threw me off right there as well. At what point did they make it so that they explain? Now, like I said, if you guys know, let me know. At what point did they make it and explain it so that she has like consequences for staying in a supposedly reality for too long? Maybe that was the episode about her going back into the photo and going to see her Chloe's dad and trying to save him, or maybe something like that, but it never really stated on her having like consequences to it. So that's what threw me off, because like I said, they don't explain how she got her powers, and the only real consequences we see is that time gets distorted or changed. She gets nosebleed and headaches, and that's it. That's it. So what is really the implications to sticking around too long in some different reality? And then there's also the fact that this is another thing. Maybe this is the distorted timelines, but if you look around in the airplane, there's like blotted spots everywhere, and like it doesn't allow you, like if you're playing the game and if you were able to move, which is in the future room and stuff like that, if you were able to move, it wouldn't allow you to get past that. So you're like hit with this block, and I didn't really understand that. I was like, what happened there? Like I'm gonna say a lot of shit just throws me off, so I may end up saying it threw me off, but this shit fucking threw me off again. Now this may be a distorted timeline, but it kind of shows you the fact that Max cannot go any further past this room where she is in the airplane. So she's stuck in this timeline. I think that's what it means, right? And then she figures out when she starts getting the bloody nose, she says to herself, Max, you're not just screwing around with time. You know what I'm saying? So now she figures out that she's not just fucking with time, she's fucking with everything around it. So now she ends up in the Zeitgeist, I don't even know how to say that, the art gallery. And Chloe calls Max, and she's like, yo, the Arcadia Bay hurricane and shit, right? This fucking crazy hurricane that happened in Arcadia Bay. And so you get up, you can talk to the principal if you want, just ask a couple of questions. Fat ass motherfucker want to feed on the buffet, just like his ass would. And then you go up to the photo to, go back in time. And the photo is a photo that she took that we didn't even see this female take this picture, but I know it was in the front cover of the game and stuff. So she takes this photo, and this was weird. When I was trying to take the photo, I got stopped like 3 times. No, this is another nitpick thing, but this was really fucking weird. I got stopped like 3 fucking times. I didn't get the point of that. Like, why they kept bugging me when I tried to take the photo? All I wanted to do was focus on it to go back into time. Now you focus on now you're focusing on the photo finally after you get bugged like 3 fucking times. And you're now in Max's room with a bunch of pictures and stuff like that, and the camera right there. Now, this is really what also threw me off. I mean, there was a lot of shit that threw me off, and I ain't even done. Like, this is fucking weird. The pictures are all over the wall, right? And you see it, and you see it from the photo she focused on. Every time she focuses on a photo, it takes her to that event, right? So the questions are, when did she take the photo? Why can't she really exit out? And how is it that when she tears, because she tears this photo, right? It somehow, some way places her right back into Mr. Jefferson's dark room. And that is what, like, I did not get. Now, like I said, there could be a lot of theories, and you could correct me right here and now. And go ahead, just throw your corrections. I mean, that's dope, man. But that is fucking stupid. Like, look, this is fucking stupid. If that was the case, if she tore that picture, why didn't it just take her to the events before she took the picture? You see what I'm saying? Like, this is one thing about messing with time and games like consistent of time. It really threw me off because of the fact that she ripped the photo and it went. She went all the way back into the dark room. Like, where did the events happen in between that? Like, these empty plot holes that happen in between that event from the picture being torn or the picture being taken before. Maybe that was like a couple of days after she got exited. Like, she managed to get out of the dark room. But how did that happen? So in a way that she managed to sit right in the fucking chair next to Mr. Jefferson, old rapey ass motherfucker. I mean, we want to capture the innocence bullshit. And like, she was right there. So now she has a nosebleed. Mr. Jefferson makes a joke now that she's back in the dark room. This is also another question. Yo, did Mr. Jefferson kill Victoria? He made he made these the way he phrased or structured his sentences. I didn't know if he did. I mean, like I said, I played this game twice and I really didn't know it. So, okay. Yeah, that kind of confused me. So did he not? Y'all let me know. All right. So right here, this is probably the funnest part I had in this whole episode, where you had to play the game of how many times is David gonna get shot. Homie, I played this. All right, this was the funniest part because David is coming to the rescue to save Max. And now the player actually has, now he has the option of, finally doing some shit. Like, all right, now I can, play the game, kind of play it in the way it presents itself, kind of like a puzzler kind of type deal, right? So you have to choose these options between how to save David. Like, you could scream to him and then that doesn't work. The dude gets shot. You could tell him pick up the bottle, which I didn't understand. This motherfucker threw the bottle. Why don't you just smack him over the head with this shit? He throw the bottle, gets shot. You could tell him to move the table, which this you fucking laugh with that shit. This dude just pushes the table. Mr. Jefferson looks, he's like, bitch, are you stupid? Why can't I look for the bottle, man? Well, I'm not going back enough, man. Oh my God, bro. This is way too funny, man.
Stop that bottle.
Let's see if this shit work. Nigga. That nigga just stood there and took the shots. He literally just stood there and took the shots, my nigga. Oh my gosh, bro. He literally just stood there and took the shots, man.
Going to stop me. Kick that table.
Oh my gosh, bro. Nigga.
Stop me.
David kicked that table. What did that? Shoots him twice and that's it. And then you could find, and then this one took me actually a while, my first playthrough. You could pull the cord, like you could pull this cord and it drops the lighting kit and it hits the floor. And then that gives David enough time to, stop Mr. Jefferson, knock his ass down.
Yes.
Right? Cool. And now, after all that, David knocked him out, put him under arrest and stuff. This is cool right here. Now, this is a cool thing that I like about the game. You're presented with the choice of telling David the truth about Chloe being shot, or you could lie to him. Now, I did what I did. I let that motherfucker get the bullet straight to the head, right? And I did that shit both playthroughs. So, that was kind of dope. And I did like that. You get the choice to do that shit. Cool, right? So now, after that, you have to go back into Wales Diner to meet up with Warren, right? This happened right here. Yo, I gotta say one thing. What is up with the loading screens in this game, man? They're fucking terrible. I'm just slight little thing there. Maybe it's because I'm on the PS3, but they're pretty bad. I heard there was a PC complaint as well. But that's just a side note. I'm just saying. Now you're back in the, you're in the street that's like on the same street that goes to the Wales Diner. whatever the fuck, the Whale's Diner, whatever it's called, I don't give a fuck. You're in that same street, and now you're presented with like a huge amount of people that you could save, right? Okay, so the second playthrough, I already did this stuff, and I wanted to see if I could skip it just for the sake of it. You can't skip those people, right? So because you can't skip those people, you have to go through them and save them one by one, right? So you gotta save the fat bitch, you gotta save the trucker dude, and then you gotta save the guy in the fire pit or whatever you want to call it. Now, another thing, this is kind of weird, and I don't know if maybe there was a way around this puzzle. You have to start the water, and when you start the water, it electrocutes the dude in the corner, you know, in fetal position and shit. So then the motherfucker dies. So then what I had to do is I had to walk around it when the fire was out, rewind time, and then save his life. Yo, that's some God shit right there, man. You know why? Because I pretty much let this motherfucker die, and then I resurrected him, dog. This bitch is straight God, man. Okay, yo, that was some weird shit, yo. Like, I don't know if there was a way around that. I was trying to figure out, I mean, why couldn't she just call the dude, hey, move, motherfucker? You know, she couldn't just do that? I guess not. So now you're at the part where you're at the diner. You're walking to the diner, and the shit just blows up. And now because of that, you know, since you've been playing the game, you already know what you got to do. You got to rewind time and figure out what to do, right? Constantly rewinding time with no real consequences to actually failing after the diner gets blown up about a couple of times because you couldn't find the fucking sand for the shit, right? Well, it blew up for me like 4 times, so I'm seeing these niggas die left and right, like it's cool, right? So now you're inside the diner. You're in the diner, and this is where you meet Chloe's mom, you meet, I forgot this dude's name, I really don't care. And then you meet Warren, right? He had a nice dog. You meet Warren, and then you talk to Warren, and he asks these questions, and Max explains that she can rewind time, and then Warren just believes it. And this is where I really was like, okay, fuck this game. This is where Warren says it must be chaos theory. Now then, chaos theory, in a nutshell, is in mathematics and physics, chaos theory describes the behavior of certain nonlinear dynamical systems that under certain conditions exhibit a phenomenon known as chaos. Among the characteristics of chaotic systems described below is sensitivity to initial conditions, popularly referred to as the butterfly effect. Now we've seen the blue butterflies in the game, and you know that explains this so-called the use of chaos theory supposedly. Now this is one thing, as I said just now, it's basically everything that happens, there will be some sort of chaotic effect towards it, right? Pretty much. And it doesn't happen in a way where it doesn't happen in a chronological order. It's very non-linear. So everything is just gonna just like Warren says, everything, for every action there's a reaction. So everything is just gonna fucking go crazy, pretty much. I mean, that's as like cut and dry as possible. If I'm wrong, go ahead and fix it, but this is what I interpret, right? Now, even if you do not know what chaos theory means to the deepest root of it, like you're looking at the creator of chaos theory. We know this is a theory, and you can't necessarily prove time travel to this extent with said theory. Now again, if I am incorrect, go ahead, let me know. But in the premises meaning reasons presented in this game, the way these motherfuckers use this chaos theory, it really throws you off because of the fact that, yes, we know it's chaos, but that somehow explains every weird shit that happened in the world of Life is Strange, also known as Arcadia Bay. The weird ass tornado, the people, actually that's a little bit further in. The fucking pigeons being dying, all this weird shit. And it's basically because Max keeps using her power. Now, I don't like the fact that they tried to use some sort of scientific theory to explain the shit that happened in the game, because of the fact that we already seen how Max somehow breaks dimensions and realities to her favor, being able to take a picture, rip a picture, and then it somehow managing to fall into Jefferson's room? Like, man, what the fuck is that? Like, that doesn't make sense. I understand that this is all a time travel, and this is a game, right? And, you know, I don't even think I should be this mad, but I am, because I want my $5 back, but I ain't getting this shit back. Now I'm just complaining. I'm a cheap motherfucker. But let's be real. They use the sense of science, or so-called, because we don't even know it. Warren just throwing a speculation. The shit could be fucking wrong, and there could be some new theory that this shit, the strange theory of some bullshit that they gonna try making up to explain the fact that the fucking hurricane came out and the pigeons are dying, all the animals and shit are dying, everything, fucking weather's turning, global warming, all this kind of weird shit, right? So that's what makes me really mad, how they made that, how Warren says, well, it could be chaos theory. But wait, like, how are we gonna bring up some sort of scientific theory when the game's been just bullshitting us for the past, like, what is, like, you're like probably an hour and a half in, and I've been just bullshitting focuses on pictures, and we don't even know how the bitch got her powers? Come on, bruh. Like, that's like, I'm sorry, but this video took me so long to make because I just did not even want to sit down for this. But I feel like I had to. I feel like I really had to. And I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this shit. But hey, you know, I really don't care. So anyways, so I'm going to go through with this. So, all right, we passed that. All right, cool. And then, you know, this is weird, man. And you know what? This man, Warren, says it. I don't think I know shit. I don't think I know shit either, Warren. He says it himself. I'm fucking confused too, man. I'm fucking confused. So now basically you get the picture, because she took this whole trip to get the picture from Warren to go back, and we know that she took this picture, and many of us made that, you know, that idea that he's gonna have to go back, take the picture, and, you know, go back and pretty much do all that shit, right? Go back, take the picture, go back into a perfect time where everything is all peachy. Go back and I believe this was the moments before, you know, Warren was all wasted and shit. So she goes back in there, and she wanted to stop Chloe from, you know, going to Mr. Jefferson. I really didn't like this part because I felt like I was playing 21 questions with the bitch, having to go back and forth. My first playthrough, I failed, and I had to go back and forth, rewind, back and forth, because Chloe didn't want to fucking listen and shit, just, you know, because that's how she operates. And you have to go back and try to make it so that Chloe feels bad, and she wants to stop because Max is telling her, stop, right? Cool. Bam. So because she stopped Chloe, all these events happen. Max stops Chloe, and then from fighting Mr. Jefferson, all the events are fixed. And, you know, somehow, some way, I mean, chaos theory, y'all. Max lands right next to Chloe. Right in front of the goddamn tornado that was caused by Max the God, you know. She lands right there in front of the fucking hurricane. Bruh, that shit was fucking weird. I got so confused right there. I got so fucking confused. You don't even know. I got so fucking confused. And I know that she called in the alternate reality, or whatever you call the alternate dimension, parallel dimension, whatever the fuck you want to call it, asking for help. Because when she was in the gallery, she asked Max for help because she called at that point. I don't know if I pointed out, but she did call, and she asked for help because of the hurricane, and she was stuck out there. And this is where she does all that shit to go back in time, tear the photo in a room, and then she goes right back to right in front of the hurricane with Chloe. Now, guys, this is where I'm going to be stopping it. I should be uploading the second part tomorrow, as well as actual, you know, funner, happier, more content videos. But every now and then, you know, if I get disappointed with something, I'm gonna talk about it. So second part will be uploaded tomorrow if nothing bad happens to me, as well as another episode of We Love series of my We Love video games will be coming up tomorrow. Should be, or today, depending on how we work it out. So second part will be available tomorrow for you guys. And that's all I got. I know I did some, you know, some minor hiccups, or maybe major hiccups to those guys that want to nitpick. But, you know, I really don't care because the game didn't care about my feelings. So without a further ado, comment, subscribe, like us, get the liking. I'm out this bitch. Take care, everybody. Much love and appreciation. If you sat through that, give yourself a pat on the motherfucking back, because your life must definitely be normal.